Okay.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's session on Z-Axis TV. And I'm Leah Zalams, your host and executive coach, working with women in business to help them with sales, leadership, and mindset. And today's guest is Ray Leone, all the way from the USA. So welcome, Ray.
Thank you. It's evening time here. It's about 75 degrees. The sun is setting over the harbor. It's gorgeous.
Fantastic, fantastic. Now let me just read a little bit of your bio, Ray, for our viewers and listeners to put some context around who you are. So you began life as a computer programmer, my goodness, by the Atomic Energy Commission at Princeton University, and later as program manager for the Virginia Commonwealth University. And you left that field to go into sales, and you were the top producer for 2 international companies. And your pedigree today is combining your scientific background with practical field experience, and you've developed your trademark selling program, the sales funnel. And this is what interests me also. I have a science background in biochemistry, Ray. So the data-driven scientific approach to sales, combining that with the art of working with people, I am very intrigued to dive into a little bit of your story today. We've only got 30 minutes, but I guess to look at, perhaps to start with, in your words, what is your business today and who do you serve, and what is the main number one problem that you and your business solve?
That was a big question that we can take the whole 30 minutes on. When I went into sales, luckily, and you have to have some luck in life. That's the reality. You have to be lucky in life. And my sales manager of my first job had his law degree from Harvard. So here you have a computer science guy and a law guy analyzing the sales process, and neither one of us had ever sold anything. So we were a clean slate. So what I did, I flow charted what I thought the sales process should be, just the way I was going to write a computer program. And originally it was warm up, qualify, present, close. They were the 4 boxes. That was real simplistic.
What drove you into sales though, Ray? Out of the geeky computer like screen and into the world of people. What drove you to make that
failure? A failure demands action. I was program manager with RCA, who manufactured computers back then. And I had just been made program manager of Virginia Commonwealth University on a Monday to the installation of that system that RCA had won. And on Friday, RCA announced we were out of the computer business. 13,000 of us hit the street, and 2 of my coworkers committed suicide. They jumped out the window. I was 29. I said, if I was 49, maybe I would have been jumping out that window. So I decided to go into sales for job security. I said, if you know how to sell, you can take that skill anywhere, and you can live anywhere you want to live. And that's why I decided to give it a shot. So if RCA had not gone out of the computer business, I would have been dead 10 years ago, because the stress level of that job was killing me. Yeah. So that's how I did it. So now here I am with my buddy, and here's how the sales funnel started. And it's not lead generation, folks. All of you, that's what you think about now, but go back.
Yeah. Maybe explain what your sales funnel means.
My boss, let me get these hands correct. I said, here you're standing far apart, and your job is to bring yourself closer and closer. And he made a hand gesture of a funnel. So you start far apart, and you want to end up close, coming out the bottom with a contract. So that's when I coined the sales funnel, meaning what happens when you first meet the prospect, not has nothing to do with lead generation. So it's a psychological process that takes you from
Mm,
hello. And the good news, since much of your audience is woman, there was a
yes.
study done that was about a 4 or 5 year study not too long ago and put in Harvard Business Review, was that when people first meet you, they want to know two things. Number one, can I trust you? Number two, can I respect you? Most people try and get respect first. I'm not going to listen to you until I get trust first. Well, it turns out that that was always number one in my sales funnel process, building trust and rapport with the client. And second was the credibility piece. So I developed that 50 years ago. And 2 years ago, they validated what I had done design for forever ago. So it was very interesting how that worked. Virtually every book I read in the last 50 years all says it's the new way to sell, and it's all part of my stuff. So let's. I want to help. Say you got people out there that's sales is the lifeblood of any business,
And it's, yes,
and
but it's also the toughest piece for people that don't have a natural bent towards sales. Um, because I mean, I am a career salesperson. I came out of science and went into pharmaceutical sales and technical sales because, like you, I saw it as the next best thing to owning my own business. But it was a skill set I could own and transfer anywhere. But that was how I perceived it. What I'm seeing with women who are executives and really going for that next position, they struggle with selling themselves, right? In terms of really being comfortable with, with talking about their achievements in a way that really backs themselves and stands them out from the crowd, right? So, and then the second thing is when they want, a lot of them have ideas to start a side hustle or want to get out of the corporate life and build a business. But again, a lot of them, as soon as they can, they want to hire a salesperson. And it's like, hang on, we've got to develop your sales skills mindset because as a business owner, you own the numbers. And the only way you can own the numbers, right, is to actually generate the numbers. Now, and so this is where I'm always curious to unpack like what people like experts like yourselves who have made a very, very successful, financially successful and personal successful career in sales, right, as sales experts, because we need you, Ray, and so I'm really curious, and so that's really the gap that I see that's holding a lot of women back. That is not about bias. Well, mate, there is still systemic issues that play into that, but we got to take ownership for our perspective and our attitude.
let me put out a ray of hope there, and that is everybody thinks it's something mumbo jumbo or you need to be born with it. There is a real process. It's a scientific process that I have developed that is ironclad. I have clients that pay me to not train their competition. I have one client. Yes, I have one
Have you
client.
got that on a meme? You've got to have that on your profile, Ray. That's gorgeous. Now, if that's not a credibility
Wait till you hear
statement,
the
I don't
number.
know what
Wait till
is.
you hear the number. I've got one client that has paid me $2 million to not train their competition. That's how valuable they think this process is. So this is nothing more than a formula. You have to believe the first sale has to be to you. You must
Yeah.
believe that what you're doing will benefit the person you're selling to. Once you
Mm.
believe that, then you're not taking advantage of somebody. You're not pushing them. And the mindset to be a good seller, you have to be aggressive. Let me give you my secret close. Here it is. Get ready to write this down. Well, that's it. Well, because the perfect sales presentation eliminates the need for a close. The front end of the process is where everything is done. So 40 years, I've been a professional speaker, and you know what? Most speakers can't sell either. Even though they're up on stage, they hire bureaus to book them because they can't sell themselves. And when you're a small business person, if you're a coach, then selling yourself, if they reject you, they're rejecting you, and people take that personally. But if you have a business where you're selling a product, then they're rejecting the product, not you personally. Not you personally.
Yeah.
Get this one. This is one. Failure is not a person, it's an outcome. Failure is an outcome, not a person. So if you've tried something and it failed, you need to celebrate because it took courage to try something that was beyond your capability at that time. I had somebody tell me one day that he never failed at anything. To me, that was the saddest thing I've ever heard anybody say. I mean,
He hasn't
kind of
tried, clearly. He hasn't gone out of his comfort zone, has he?
Exactly the point. You need to celebrate when you try. But there's very simple. If you're selling something to help a B2B, let's separate B2C and B2B. Very important. In a B2B sale, what is the critical business issue of my client? CBI. Then what can I do that will impact that CBI? And here's the hard part, but the most important part. Can you dollarize the value of that impact? That's the key.
Yeah. Can you dollarize? Did you make that word up? Dollarize?
Yes.
Can you
Yes.
dollarize? I love it.
So the CBI, link your solution to the impact and then dollarize. Let me give you an example. I had a client in London that said he needed to increase the retention of his business from 90 to 95%. I said, well, what does each 1% mean to you? He said, 20 million pounds sterling. I said, whoa. So if we can get it to 95%, that's 100 million pounds sterling. I said, is it worth $500,000 to you to make that happen? And he said, of course. Here's the problem. We quote a price before we put a dollarized value on what we're offering. Therefore, the only thing they see is our price. You must present the value they're going to receive before you quote them the price. And here's another one of Ray's rules. Never quote a price to an unsold buyer.
Ooh.
Never. And we do that too soon, way too soon. Let's talk about the good news and bad news of being a woman in sales.
Yeah.
First, the good news. People think you're less likely to lie. So that's the plus. The second thing is, and there was a reality in the business world, and the reality in the business world, you have more difficult time building your credibility. Because when you're self-assertive, you're called all these bad words, where in a man it's considered really cool. With a woman, you're the B word. So
yeah.
that is a fine line. That is a fine line that you have to deal with. So I wanted to make sure I talked. When you look at the steps to your sale, why are they in the order that they're in? Whatever your steps are, put down 5 steps, whatever they are. First step is hello. Last step is close. What do you do in between? And then the next question is, why are they in the order that you just wrote them? Have you tested? Is 3 better at 2? And by the way, that's what I did years ago. 2 and 3, I switched to make them better in that order. So now we got what's the step, then what's the actual goal or the purpose of that step, and then what emotional demeanor do I need to apply to accomplish the purpose of that step? If you're not, I know that so many people know what DISC is, and personality styles.
Yeah.
And they use it for management. Luckily, I learned it over 50 years ago as a manager. But the moment I went into the sales, I saw the application immediately. There are 4 dominant styles. There are 16 classical combinations. If you're not altering your strategy to deal with the disc profile of the economic buyer, you're wrong 3 out of 4 times. I was working on a deal with Compass, the food service company, and it was a $60 million contract with Philips. It was going to be the first global food service contract ever. And the word for Philips Electronics is innovation. That's what, so he wanted to be the first one. Well, we put together a team of all these dominant people, an innovative guy. Well, he downloaded the decision and the work to a woman named Yanni in Holland, who was a high C off the chart. And I remember her saying one time, look, stop talking to me about lobster tails. No maggots is quality in some places like the jungles of Brazil. So we switched everything instead of being innovation, because innovation to her meant untested. And we made everything to be the low risk decision. And we won that $60 million contract because of that. But if we hadn't altered it based upon the profile of the person we were closing,
so this brings us into the field of like emotional intelligence, right? And being able to read people, but not only just be able to read people, but then, as you say, adapt our language, our style, like the words we use and how we use them. That's what I'm hearing is one of your superpowers, Ray, that you're very quick to hear and adapt, right? Because if we're not quick enough, we lose the opportunity.
Well, rate of speech is the number one impact on a conversation. Slow talkers think fast talkers are slick and not to be trusted. Fast talkers think slow talkers are stupid. That's the reality. That's the reality. And here's a problem for all of you folks. If you're a slow talker, it's way more difficult to ramp it up. For a fast talker, we can dial it down much easier than a slow talker can crank it up. But you can be the most intelligent person on the planet, but if you're taking a minute to tell me your idea and you're stuttering and you're you've lost me. You've lost me because I rank highly verbal skills. Here's another problem. We tend to reward people based on our own personal criteria. So if I hire you and your verbal skills are not required for the job, why should I punish you because I value verbal skills? Here's where personal bias comes in. And we're talking a lot about that in the corporate world today. How do you remove personal bias, cognitive dissonance, and all these other things that are negatively impacted the hiring process? So you want to try and remove personal bias, and it's very difficult. If you're hiring now, see, I have a client that has 600,000 employees. They make 1,000 mistakes. It won't hurt them anywhere near hurt a small business by making one bad hire. One bad hire can terminate your business. If you're a small business, you must hire well. And you better use some sciences. What part of what I do is we create benchmarks for the job. What is the amount of emotional intelligence is required for the job? We measure that. We use Daniel Goleman stuff to measure that. What disc profile, what are the attributes, and what are the motivators or driving forces? And we create a benchmark for that specific job. And we're not going to interview anyone that does not match the benchmark. The beauty of that is personal bias has been removed. We don't even know whether you're male or female, black, white, old, or young, because the computer is assessing only based upon the criteria we've established.
But that's also been the bane of many a job seeker's life now, Ray. So I hear the other side of it, right, is that they don't get past those computer assessments, right? They don't even get to speak to anybody. But that's the sifting process, isn't it? And it's like, listen, that means it wasn't a good fit. You're never going to have a positive outcome if the front end isn't a good fit to start with. And that's exactly to your point about the front end conversation about any sales process. So I'm keen to ask you too, in terms of what your biggest challenge has been. Clearly you've created a formula that is really hitting the spot and continues to hit the spot in terms of business. But if you think back to when you were getting started, or what challenge, is there a challenge that keeps coming up for you, or what's your biggest challenge in business?
Well, if you're in the B2C world, the problem today, it's good or bad, depending upon the way you look at it, is the consumer is much smarter because they got the internet, they've done all the research, and most of the time, all they want to know is what is our price, because they think they've done all the research. I have to shatter that belief system early on. I'm going to tell you the two questions that I created. I call these deficit questions. I want to create deficit in the comfort level of the buyer. The buyer thinks they know everything. I want to let them know they don't know everything. And the more I make them not know everything, the more they rely on me for the decision. So I'm creating the headache for them so that they're going to pay me more for the aspirin. The bigger the headache, the more they're going to pay for the aspirin. See?
Yeah, and isn't there that beautiful saying, like, are you the aspirin, or what is it? It's like you the aspirin or the morphine, or there's something about people not buying prevention, but they buy cures, right? So, and I think
if any of you out there have ever thought about buying a swimming pool or own a swimming pool, this one question is the one that launched my career. By the way, when you get a technique that works, don't throw it away. I actually have on my desktop a folder called Toolbox, and every little thing that I've ever developed is in that toolbox. By the way, my new ebook, Sales Minutes for Sales Masters, has 77 of these techniques in it. So you can just go to one page and open up every technique. So here it is. I walk into your backyard, and people always called 3 companies out. Always, always, always. And I'd walk into the backyard. Now here's the key. We start out in your kitchen, and we chat for a couple of minutes. Then we walk into the backyard. I'm the salesperson. Walking out. The goal is when I'm coming back into the house, I'm now their consultant, their designer. So I walk out into the backyard. Now listen to me carefully, everybody on this podcast, because this is it right here. This is it. I would ask this question. Where have you decided to put your primary and secondary focal point? And what would you say to me?
What does that even mean? I'm thinking cameras. I have no idea. What do you mean?
Everybody reacted the same way. Then I would go into what I call my Columbo routine. Remember the old TV show Columbo, where the inspector, he always acted confused. So I would go into my Columbo. Wait a minute. You told me that you had 2 other companies out here. Where did they say they were going to put it? They didn't. Really? You mean to tell me the people that were coming out here to build your dream didn't even establish the most elementary design considerations first? Really? Now, I noticed the pool you want is going to be kind of close to the house. There are force vectors, also called the angle of repose, that's going to intersect the body of that structure. What did they say that they would do to suggest it to maintain the structural integrity? So now, all of a sudden, you thought you knew everything you needed to know. And now I just introduced 2 topics that you were not ready for. And that's it. The more you
So I'm disrupted. I've gone from a pool, from thinking about where we're going to put the pool and how much is it going to cost. What's this focal point I've got to think about?
But again, they no longer are confident that they know everything they need to know. Like in the B2B world that I'm in, one of the things I do is, how many sciences does your benchmark for hiring use? So first of all, most of them don't even have a benchmark, and the benchmark has no sciences. And I'm asking them, how many sciences do they have? So that's the thing you do. You keep asking. So, there are 2 new ways.
So the bamboozling with them with something is a disruptor. Yeah.
It's called don't puke. No puking on the client. Salespeople want to puke all over them. Let me tell you how great we are.
All the features and benefits.
Yeah, then everybody tells them. And, you know, I want you to picture, those of you who have teenagers, I want you to picture your teenage kid. You're telling them all this stuff that they shouldn't do. And it's like the garage door coming down. They're not listening to a word you're saying. Well, the customer's the same way. You're puking all over. Oh, well, let me tell you how great we are. Let me tell you this. Let me tell you. You notice I didn't tell them how I do the pool. I haven't said a word to them about it, but they've already determined they're going to buy from me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why the close is so automatic. Automatic.
So what's the second deficit question? Did you have a second one, or was it like one?
Well, the second one was the annual repose, but then the other one is that back when I was selling, it was not a law. It's now a law, thank heaven, for anti-entrapment of main drains and pools and spas, and because children and people would get stuck and die, and I would talk about that. And I'd say, well, what did they say they were going to do about preventing that from happening? So they didn't know. Of course, all you got to do is do a double main drain separated by 3 feet. And therefore, if one gets on one, it releases to the other side. So it would take care of that problem. But how about this one? I was a small business person. And in the US, people would take out like a second mortgage to buy the pool. And that could be a mechanic's lien if people didn't pay their debts. So I would take out my financial statement and I'd say, here's my financial statement. How does that compare to the others you've seen? Because I know nobody else would show them their financial statement. So they said they didn't show it. And I'd go back in the really? You notice you didn't ask me to show it. Why do you think they didn't show you theirs? See, I'm creating more and more doubt in the business. Like in the business world, there's two problems.
But you're leading with value. You're leading with value, though, Ray, because you're bringing up something that is very intricate, but it tells me that you know your stuff. That's the sense I get with both of these angles, if you like, that have got really nothing to do with digging a hole in the ground in their backyard, right? In terms of that physicality of that. So and also coming back to the belief that you clearly had in you being absolutely the best and only person that they should do business with. But that's not what you're saying to them, obviously. But yes, this is coming through, I think, in the thoroughness of the things that they need to be considering with this investment.
Simple errors in judgment over time lead to massive failure, and simple things done correctly over time lead to massive success. For 40 years, I averaged a book a week on sales, leadership, or human behavior. That is 2,000.
As in reading or writing? You wouldn't be writing. Reading. Yes.
2,000 books on my chosen profession. That one habit has put me light years ahead of almost everyone else in my profession.
Yeah.
Do what other people are unwilling to do. And by the way, and I joined everything. So when I moved to Charleston, South Carolina, no one knew who I was. So I joined a Rotary Club. I joined a yacht club. I joined a coin club. I mean, I joined the Heart Association fundraising. You name it, I joined it. I'm not sure. In the United States, every city has multiple business league clubs.
Yeah.
Do you guys have them too? Where people get together?
We have networking groups, yes.
And there's no pretense. You're there to only share leads. And then we sat down. You have to eat breakfast or lunch. And it was a breakfast or lunch. And a good lead for me is, and you tell them, and somebody says, I got one for you. And that was it. So the other thing, again, being stupid helped me in the beginning. I actually believe when my company told me when I made a sale that I had to get 2 referrals or they wouldn't take the contract. And I believed them. So guess what?
Wow.
I got referrals. I got the 2 referrals. So I want you to get this picture. At the end of
Yeah.
a sale, to prevent buyer's remorse, you want to make them laugh. So I would get very
Yeah.
serious. Now, why don't you picture this, Leah? You just bought like a $50,000 swimming pool. And I said, Leah, we've got a problem.
Yeah.
What do you mean we got a problem? Well, you were a prospect. Now that you signed a contract, you're a customer. Who are you going to replace yourself with? I need more prospects. You only 2. And they would laugh. And they would
Yeah.
laugh.
But
And
I
then they
love
would go
that.
get their renewals back.
But you do it with such a tone of, of humor, but it's also a very direct ask, but you're telling them why as well. You're not just saying, oh, do you have a couple of friends who also might be thinking about, digging a pool? You're actually telling them why it matters to you. And I think these are the nuances of language and how you make the ask.
And here's the key.
Clearly,
You don't
yeah.
say who do you know that wants a pool. If you're selling insurance, you don't say who do you know that cares about their family as much as you do. That's a whole lot bigger, broader audience. I don't know anybody that wants a swimming pool, but I know a lot of people care about their family. So be careful the question you
my
ask.
goodness, my goodness. I think we could go for hours. It's amazing. We've just hit the tip of the iceberg today, Ray, on your wisdom and your expertise, and you've given us so many great nuggets already. But if we're going to, I guess, leave the audience with 1 or 2 top tips if they're struggling with sales, or they're trying and they're not getting anywhere, they're not like converting, like they're not having enough conversations to then actually create business. I'm wondering if you've got a couple of tips. You've already mentioned get out and network and get yourself known, for one.
But the good news is that I have not made an outbound phone call in 25 years. Everyone calls me.
As in cold call?
I don't make any calls.
As in going out? Wow.
Everybody calls me. Because here's the deal. Under promise and over deliver. The greater your sales skill, the less you have to promise to win the contract. Again, back in the pool business, people would say to me, am I ever going to see you again? And I'd show up this hand. You see this hand? Say, do you see any blisters or calluses? No, I don't do work. If you see me in your backyard, get a gun, because you don't want me in your backyard. I lowered expectations as low as you could. I says, if you see me, it's because I want something from you. It's the only reason I'm coming back is because I want something from you. So you lower expectations, but then you over deliver. And the strongest phrase in the English language, I need your help. That's what you say to everyone you know. I need your help. Most of my business comes from referral. Who do you know that could benefit from what I offer?
Oh, I love that, Ray, because that's another gap I see, particularly with experienced, successful women that have, a certain role, a certain, style, if you like, and asking for help is somehow very difficult for many. So again, these are learned skills, is what I'm hearing too. Yeah.
Asking for help is a sign of strength, not weakness. That means I'm confident in my own skin that I'm willing to say I don't know everything there is to know.
Yeah.
Asking for help is a sign of strength, not weakness.
Oh, that's a beautiful note to close our call on today, Ray. I really value your time and the passion and the insights that you have shared with us today. And if people want to connect with you and tell us a little bit about the book that you've got coming out and how can people get hold of that as well?
Okay, so you can all email me at Ray Leone, ray@rayleone.com. I'll get those
Yep.
emails. Anybody that wants to contact me directly. And my website, of course, is salesfunnel.com, of course.
Yes.
And again, that's the book, everybody. I got to get it placed right. That's the one that started it all. And that's still available. That's the process. But the new one, which is an ebook, and it's actually pre-release. I don't even put a number on it. Probably be like $10. And I haven't even put a number on it. But it's 77 standalone techniques. So you want something that can jumpstart you immediately. It's like all those one or two little techniques I gave you as we went along the line. There's 77 of them in this book. So it's a real easy.
And is that available on your website from ray@rayleone.com? Is that and what's it called again?
Sales Minutes for Sales Masters. That used to be my radio show and my column when I used to write a column. Sales Minutes for Sales Masters.
Oh, that just, yeah. And we can never reach the top. We can never have too much learning and education and upskill ourselves in sales and leadership, can we? It's sort of like a never-ending cup that needs refilling. And you've certainly filled my cup today and reignited my I guess my own passion for doing good in the world, and knowing that, you know, that sales skills really is the engine room of any business and any conversation. And it's something that, yes.
Well, I had a woman come up to me. She says, "My mother told me to thank you." I said, "I never met your mother." She says, "Yeah, but I used your process last year and I made $250,000, paid off my mother's mortgage." That's what I love to hear. I love to hear that.
That is fantastic. That is absolutely
By the way,
brilliant.
have you told people, Leah, have you told people how old I am?
Well, that's the other thing. My goodness, can you believe that Ray is 80? My goodness, you know, and I tell you, you know, it's astonishing. But this is you are a true example of when you do what you love and integrate what you love in work and life. That is how you come across to me, Ray. That this is the fountain of youth, and this is what allows you to love the skin you're in. And that's one of the personal goals that I speak to a lot as well. That's my aim in life is to help people with skills and tools to make decisions that will support them to love the skin they're in, because we're in the integrated, you know, world of work and life now. You know, it's no longer work-life balance, but it's about integration.
The bad news is, the big secret is I married the perfect woman. That's the real secret.
And what a fabulous note to end on, Ray. I mean, you know, and that's what they say. Behind every great man, there's a great woman. And equally, I was speaking with a business coach earlier this week, and she was saying that one of the secrets to her success was her partnership with the husband, and that never-ending support of, you've got this, you can do this, you know, and we're in this together.
50 years.
50 years, my goodness, that is phenomenal. That is absolutely phenomenal.
That was
Ray,
the best sales I ever did.
Well, and it's ongoing, isn't it? It's ongoing. It's one thing to get married and then maintain it. Yes, so let's leave it at that for today, but we'll definitely have to have a reconnect. And I really thank everybody for tuning in, and Z-Axis TV, and join us for more exciting interviews with thought leaders and experts who are not just speaking their specialty, but they're actually doing great things in the world. And Ray, thank you once again for being here today.
Thank you.